Welcome to the Stickers on the Mic podcast, brought to you by StickerGiant.com, where we talk with our customers about how they started their business, how they're marketing their brand, and how they're growing their company. Without further ado, it's time for the Stickers on the Mic podcast from Sticker Giant. Let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to Stickers on the Mic. Once again, Andrew with you here. Today we have Josh Mezher from Santa Cruz, California, the founder of A Pot for Pot, which is your product. Yeah. And it is exactly what it sounds like. So Josh, welcome to the show.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me, Andrew. It's stoked to be here.
So when did you start A Pot for Pot?
Really at the beginning of everything went full circle with my growing career, but we incorporated the business in about 2007. But we really only launched the product in the middle of 2017, and launched it in the middle of 2018. Because it just took us a while to get inventory and things together. So I say like summer 2018 is when we had our first
And there were already legal cannabis markets all around the country, and cannabis has changed. Like when you say 2007, 2008, that was a long time, right?
Sorry, I meant 2018.
No, I mean when you started growing though, you've been growing for a long time, right? So way before legal marijuana. So that just changes like your approach and relationship to the plant.
Yeah. It was fascinating going through the cycle of the cannabis industry and seeing it, go from medical. So I regard myself as a second wave California medical grower.
Yeah.
So when I started growing, medical was legal.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting time because it was legal, but it wasn't really legal to grow. Right. So you could go and you could sell it, but there wasn't any laws really around it, and people were still getting busted back then. And then it was really about 2016 when the legal kind of medical market got its hands together, and then California obviously went then recreational. And obviously still today, it's not actually legal, like you touched on. It's still regarded as federally illegal industry,
right?
Which makes it a little difficult to operate in.
Yeah, so it's the typical sort of like gray market liminal space of what a business can do. There's so many different laws in America, and for those listening, you can learn all about Section 280E and these various things within the way you can charge money for cannabis products. But you are selling grow kits basically. It's a pot for pot, but back to the product itself. And this is it's a complete grow kit for any kind of herb you want, but specifically in this case, cannabis. How did you, when you say inventory, how did you productize this when it, came to be?
I guess it started, my business partner and I were walking through Home Depot, and, we were like, why isn't there something that just teaches people how to grow cannabis easily?
Yeah.
And if you look at it, everyone kind of grows it indoors, and it's either really expensive or complicated right now. And, you go Google how to grow marijuana, you get thrown every which way at you. And then people often wind up investing a whole lot of money into it, and they spend $1,000 on just trying to grow what's known as weed.
Yeah.
And have been growing it since 2008. I kind of know the ins and outs, and I've done all the ways. And truthfully, the way that cannabis grows great is just in really good soil that has all the nutrients it needs.
Yeah.
And then give it just sun, and grow it outdoors like a garden variety essentially. And so that's what we try to incorporate into the product. And, we use really good soil that we blend, and then we give you sort of all the ingredients you need. And we make it about as easy as it can be. And it turns out it does grow like a weed. We say just add sun, water, and seed. And that's the one thing the kit doesn't include is the seed for the plant. And that's obviously for legal reasons, right?
Yeah.
And it's also nice because then we wind up giving people choice, because you don't necessarily want to get boxed into OG Kush or this variety or that variety.
Yeah.
So what we do is we include seed coupons.
Oh.
And then you go to our seed coupon partners, and then you'll go to their website and select your strain, and you get $40 off. And so that was kind of like a step that we had to take to separate ourselves a little bit.
Yeah, it's a very necessary, just put the wall up right there. Just it just cut, it's a purely a gardening product in that regard.
So that's what makes we're regarded as an ancillary cannabis product.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that still means we're paraphernalia.
Of course.
Yeah. Which then puts a whole world of restrictions on it.
Yeah. So it changes a little bit of your business model and how you can, make money and file taxes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, but you're, been doing this for a few years. You've got a bunch of accessories, whether it's watering can or scissors and all the various accoutrements that go with, this experience. As you're doing like the product itself and then the accessories and then education, how are you trying to educate folks, at a potforpot.com?
Yeah. So we have like a video grow guide. It's like an 8-part email series that you get. So we try to like step you through it, each little kind of week by week, basically. We encourage our customers to grow what's known as auto flowering cannabis or automatic flowering cannabis. It's kind of a strain of or a variety of cannabis that people aren't too familiar with, but that just is done in 80 days. So it doesn't matter what time of year it is or whether your plants get indoors or outdoors, the plant is ready to be harvested then. So we follow them along with that video grow guide, and then we also provide what we call grow coaching. So anyone has any questions, like, why is this leaf turning this color, or, anything, or am I watering enough? We're going to, reply to you in about 48 hours. And we have customers that we have just ridiculously long email chains with. I mean, we'll talk to them daily.
Well, so it's a high touch thing too, no pun intended. Like you want to actually guide them. Sorry, dad jokes. Guide them through the process, but that's, especially as America, continues, states, we're almost majority of states in America have some sort of marijuana law on the books that isn't complete and utter discrimination. There's a handful of states, right? The rest is, or not a prohibition, not just discrimination. It's a prohibition, right? And so, how have you seen your geographies, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. Like America was a patchwork of different, state and local laws to this, just in California alone, like you said. California, you go from one county to another. We were like that in Colorado too for a while. Different municipalities, you couldn't buy marijuana in my hometown, but we had, legal marijuana statewide,
it's really bizarre.
Well, but how does your customer base respond to that, or is it agnostic to any problems regarding that? Attitudes, of course, in states like Oklahoma, South Dakota are different than New York, which just went online, or Colorado, most mature market in the country. California, longest lasting legacy of marijuana production, in the country, right?
Yeah, I would say we'll see when a state goes legal, we'll see a blip in that state, and they'll kind of like pop up a little bit, because obviously one of the main reasons people want to grow the plant is because it's illegal, right?
Yeah, they'll go to jail. You'll go straight to jail, which is not like, it's not worth it to those people.
If you have a federal job or anything, right? Like there's a huge amount of risks still associated with growing a plant, even if, you're in a legal state and you can grow it, like if you're in a union, drug tested and stuff like that. So I would say that it's really across the whole country though. And we also ship internationally as well. But yeah, the customer base is really diverse and spread out. I think a lot of our customers are people that wind up really needing it for medical reasons.
Right.
Because that's obviously something that I think today is vastly different from when I first got involved with the industry, and it was predominantly a medical thing. And you were dealing with, I was dealing with real patients. I've met people that have cured themselves from cancer and people that have died from cancer while consuming cannabis. And so I think a lot of our customers wind up being medical people who, need a higher volume of medicine.
Of course.
And then we also have the gardener, right? Just someone who wants to grow. Just
a hobbyist. Yeah, they have a greenhouse and they like azaleas, but they also like bonsais, and they also have a cannabis plant.
One of my favorite statistics was from the 2018 National Gardening Survey, where it was reported that I think it was 72% of households would grow cannabis as a garden variety if federally legal to do so.
Oh, wow.
Which makes sense, right? If you own your own house and you're already gardening, and it's just such a fun plant to actually watch grow. Like it's so fun.
And there's so many strains and varieties and smells too. Like, I mean, just flowers smell, and they smell depending on the, roses, whatever. But like a flowering cannabis plant, like is so pungent at its full bloom.
And like the money tree here, I love this plant, but like it's taken 10 years for it to get this big. You grow a cannabis plant, and all of a sudden you walk out there with your morning cup of coffee, and you're like, I swear that thing's an inch bigger today.
Exactly. Speaking of that, though, you talked about the education and the journey of cultivating this from, starting it until you have to harvest it. That seems, the processing of it seems like the part of the process too. Well, talk me through that. I actually don't know a ton about that and how you would do it with your product. You know what I mean? So say it's flowered, it's in bloom, and it's time to trim it out. What does that look like?
So once you finish your 80 days, and you've got a plant, and you're like, okay, this is now at the point where it's ready to harvest. We obviously give you the key indicators to look for. Then chop it down. And then you actually get into one of the most labor intensive part of the whole process is right at the end. Because then you have to get this plant that looks kind of bushy and flowery, and you have to make it look like a diamond nug that you're kind of used to getting. So you basically wind up making it's actually about 28 cuts per gram. It works out to you because you have to remove all the leaves, because the leaves don't really contain the THC or sort of the product that you're looking for, and they'll often degrade the smell of it. You go around, you remove all those leaves, and it takes about 8 hours for a professional to trim a pound of cannabis. It's just a miserable process. But
right. No, I mean, that's like in the industry, when you zoom out again back to, what we're talking about, the marijuana industry has so many different jobs and people doing things, and the trimmers, that's like the line work. That's like that is hard work actually. And there's dust, and it's in a, it's like, there's just cannabis dust everywhere.
You put on your trimmer hat for a day.
Yeah.
You trim all the leaves off, and then you'll hang it and you'll let it dry. It typically takes around about, I would say, depending on your climate, but let's say 10 days for it to fully dry out. Then you'll pop it in a jar, and it's pretty much at that point ready to consume. But we'll advise you to keep it in the jar for about 2 weeks just to let it cure and the moisture to even out throughout the buds. And then,
because now that it's no longer attached, and then it's just finally dehydrating.
It's all dehydrated. It'll shrivel up a little bit, unfortunately.
But I mean, you knew what it looked like 10 days ago. You're like, if you're the one handling it, there's that point of pride to it too. Like like any task or any hobby.
And I think one of the things that also really fascinates our customers is people aren't necessarily aware of this, but cannabis is best fresh.
Right.
And now it's like the supply chains within the industry. If you're buying cannabis at a dispensary, I pretty much guarantee it's almost 3 months old, at best.
Yeah, depending on the inventory too. They, you never know.
So by the time it's lived for 3 months, all those terpenes and kind of the aroma profiles have evaporated. So we wind up really getting our customers enjoying cannabis. It's like incredibly flavorful.
Right, and it's just, again, it's theirs. So you've got a few different choices of 5 gallon, 2 gallon, half gallon, 35 gallon. What would be the different? Oh, each one is producing a different volume. You get 8 ounces.
Yeah, so this is what I call our desktop version, which is just sort of a half gallon one.
Yeah,
and
that's really 28 grams. It says you would produce from that.
You can get 28. Yeah, that little plant there. I don't want to get close, about half it. This is just indoors. So be it full sun, it'll do better. But it's amazing how much you can harvest just from in 80 days. It's kind of shocking.
Sure.
And that's what I mean. It grows so quickly. But yeah, we have that one, which is really what I would call our desktop version. And that one's just sort of to grow a fun plant. I would say that one's, borderline novelty for us, just because it's such a small pot. But it makes an epic gift. And I love having one growing on my desk.
Yeah, for $50, it is an epic gift, actually. If someone is, interested or has no, stigma around it. It's just another thing you have.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have our 2 gallon version, which is more designed for indoors, in a grow tent or like a very sunny window. And we have a 5 gallon version, which is kind of outdoors in the balcony or in the patio. And then we have a 35 gallon, which is, very large.
That's industrial almost in a way.
It's almost like a wine barrel.
But that's what you'll see in a big grow when you go to a grow house and they have, 100 of those buckets,
Exactly.
Yeah. Those plants can get really tall.
Huge. Yeah. Those are a lot of fun. And people get, a pound of cannabis off one of those plants pretty easily by the end of the season. And that's, not a bad return on your investment.
The first time, but then the second time you've already made back your investment in the product.
Yeah.
Like from purely buying at a dispensary alone.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, loose math would suggest that at $320, that, a pound of cannabis, I don't know, you can do the math locally. You can figure out what it costs you. But anyway, good times on that. That's fun to hear about yield and talk. And then you can, like you said, you have these text chains with these customers because you're just farmers talking about farming.
Yeah, it's just hobbyists. So people are really passionate.
Or gardeners, I guess. You're not at some, I mean, some people have a full farm, but these
are all gardeners. People are just growing like 4 plants, and people just get excited. Like it's so much fun to see a seedling, that's tiny, and you get that emotional attachment to it, and you watch it grow throughout its cycle, and they just love their plants.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them also just enjoy talking to us because we try to help them along.
So, I mean, that's part of obviously like your sort of strategies is obviously, having good service and having a product that people.
Look, for us, the only thing that matters is your success, right? I mean, literally, and I say that from a fundamental business perspective because I can't advertise. I mean,
right.
I can't go on Instagram and pay for ads. I can't do any of that. So in order for like us to be a successful company, I need you to have a success. So then you're going to go tell your buddy, hey, look how much fun this was, and look what I got, and they're going to grow. So I think that for us is like just really since we started it, we're like, hey, we got to really love our customers because their success is our success.
So how do you do that other than, like you said, you respond? But I want to come back to the advertising thing because that's kind of a larger topic for marketing that is one of your hurdles, right? But when this became you and your business partner, you're like, we have to do X, Y, and Z, and we also can't do these other things that a normal quote unquote business does. So what did that look like creating that customer experience then?
I mean, to us, it was just taking the time out of the day to genuinely respond to something. And give them the best response we can give them over email because, we didn't want to do phone or anything like that. But, we get them to send us photos and because, we know the product and we've seen, 10,000 plants go through the system. We know at this point what your problems are, and a lot of the times you don't actually even have any problems. You're just worried.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times it's, people sometimes just need encouragement, right? Like just flat out like, no, you're actually doing a great job. Like, don't worry. Like, everything's going to be fine. And I think it was just being a human at the end of the email. And trying to just be genuine like that.
Nice. So, and then I talk a little bit about the product development and like making the first kit and like making the things that you needed. Like, cause
so our first packaging didn't look anything like it looked today. It was literally just a box with a sticker wrapped around it. It was a long, 24-inch sticker. And that contained all the product information. We launched that one and we did that for like a year. And we're like, okay, like this works. As far as like developing the product, like I've grown cannabis for 14 years.
Yeah.
So like I didn't even grow a plant in this kit before I sold it just because I've grown in the soil, like I know, I made the same soil recipe and everything else. So there wasn't really like, is this going to work? It's just like,
no, yeah, that part makes a lot of sense. I mean, but you have all these little, especially when you do the $80 small pot, it has a lot of little things in it. Like there's, and the box is branded, it's all like, it's got a watering can. There's a lot of like elements that go into it that makes it a full experience.
Yeah. Well, we wanted to have it so like if you didn't garden or anything like that, you had any tools that you just had everything you needed was in the box.
Yeah.
And the first version had like a pH tester to see what your water was. Then we're like, that's too complicated. Like we need to keep this simple because a lot of people try to overcomplicate the experience, So for us, we put a smartphone camera lens in there so people could look closely at their buds and, hopefully share it on social media, hashtag pot for pot. Unfortunately we are shadow banned. So like social media is not even advertising on it is useless for us, but even just posting on it at this point, it's kind of like almost a fruitless effort because it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that also works for people who post on our behalf. We've tried experiments where we've worked with Instagram accounts with huge followings.
Yeah.
And they'll post something about us and the reach of that post will be, 1/20th of what any other post would be just because it's called a pot to pot.
Yeah, and I mean, you have an Instagram, but I presume have been like banned or been,
Well, it's the shadow ban, right? So we're
yeah,
not banned, but we're basically invisible, so it
yeah,
doesn't appear, and you can't even search hashtag pot for pot and like get the most recent. You just get the most
yeah,
popular. It's like this weird house. It's like the naughty house they put you in. Like
yeah, yeah. I mean, you're still
banned
like,
you,
yeah,
but
you're sitting in the corner, which is no fun. Well, other than those, which are huge barriers to growing your business, right? I mean, those are obviously like, for a restriction like that to go away would change the way you can forecast and
yeah.
want to
Oh,
plan, markets you can get into and stuff. So ideally you can get that going. I hope we can figure out those
really,
laws.
the only way that we've been able to market the business and get eyeballs, right? Because it's still just eyeballs to the website conversion ratio. It's all predominantly been through SEO. Because that's sort of the one, like, okay, like, well, this is the pre-information, so we can't really like not promote you, or if your blog's good, your blog's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really been like the one channel that we've been able to identify.
So how have you done that? Because SEO is a passion of mine. What were like some of you can't give away your secrets, obviously, but like, what were some targeting things like when you're like trying to like, because Google is just a game. You got to figure out the game, right?
Oh, it's totally just a game. Yeah. I think what I've learned, right? Because like, I think what initially was our main help is we had a partner, so our seed partner, already had an established SEO presence.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you're familiar with SEO, backlinks. So I think those backlinks in the beginning were a massive boost to us.
Yeah.
Then it's SEO. When I got into this, I knew nothing.
Yeah, it's like black magic. It's dark arts. It really is. Like, I mean, but it's also very simple. It's like use the right keywords on your website, structure pages, metadata, the things that get people. Yeah.
Like, and people are like, well, what is good content? And what does that look like? And to me, it's a really fine line, right? And like, good content is something that's enjoyable to read, that's helpful, and that gives you the answers that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And like, it's so easy to publish bad content because writers.
It's happening while we've been on this call. 1 billion bad posts just went out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now you have AI, and it's not even worse.
Yeah.
So, and then you're in this weird limbo where you're now writing for computers, but it's information for humans.
Right.
And like trying to meet those two objectives is a really fun balancing act.
Yeah.
And then you have the whole technical side of SEO where, it's how fast is your website?
Right. Right. How, like, and just the buttons and like the way the data is like in there to see Google shopping or whatever.
Google hates slow websites, which makes sense. Like, nobody's waiting on a website. And, really Google's algorithm is centered around trying to understand what the human wants and trying to mix match that back into the computer of like, is this a real person? Are they, validated source and so forth? But yeah, I think it was just initially publishing good content, having good partners that promoted us.
Right.
And that sort of gave us like a bit of wind, under our wings. And then the pandemic hit, and that was obviously a big boom for business.
Yeah, people are at home; they're looking for things to do. Actually, it seems like a great time to sort of grow. No pun intended. Again, like because the market was literally captive.
Yeah, and I think that in hindsight has made it really difficult for a lot of businesses because everybody just blew up.
Yeah,
like you'd think during the pandemic the business would actually go down. It turns out, except restaurants and certain businesses obviously had major impacts, but for the majority of it, some businesses went through the roof. And,
the cottage industries have,
yeah. So and then you fast forward to today, and everything's a little different. Now we're in a recession.
Yeah. It's like whiplash. It's crazy whiplash. So that's the hard part. And working on the internet can do that to you also in general. Well, Joshua, wow, we've covered a lot of ground, which is really cool. What is sort of the next step for a pot for pot?
I think we're actually probably going to wind up rebranding. And we're probably going to move it over to a pot for plants. And I say that just because I, like you said in the call, maybe we'll get federal banking in 4 or 5 years. But the truth is as a business, we fight an algorithm, and whether that's like the, social norm algorithm of having distributors not work with us because we're cannabis. We're very open about cannabis. We're one of the few companies, if you look in cannabis, that are ancillary businesses that we put our neck out there and we're like, oh no, this product's cannabis.
Yeah.
like
it's not there's no snarky joke. It's not, it's literally a pot for pot.
Initially we went with that because that was like the right thing to do. And
totally.
It turns out like not being able to advertise
is not the right thing to do.
That may not be the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to rebrand to Pot for Plants in sort of a cheeky-ish fashion.
Yeah.
And try to still keep it a little genuine, but ultimately, like, you need eyeballs, and if no one's giving you a speaker box, then perhaps you should obey the rules.
No, that makes sense. So that'll be a change for you and your customers, but also, you'll get new customers and you'll figure out ways to package this up meaningfully for people, right? That's all that matters.
And it's really like we want the same customer base because it's there's the number of people in this country, and the number of people that are going to grow cannabis, and I don't really want to sell to tomato growers. I want to sell to pot growers, but I just have to sell to them, kind of through the loopholes, right?
Yeah.
Being the wink and nudge for your favorite herbs, and sort of playing more to the rules of the algorithm, because turns out.
And you already have the website of Pot for Plants.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
So it's all good. Like
we're transitioning.
Yeah. I mean, but what I'm saying is that like you are already in process, it's just a matter of like refocusing your advertising and your marketing, and, the bonsai kit looks awesome, actually. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's super fun.
My uncle is a big bonsai fan, so I I think bonsais are fun. So you can, do all sorts of different stuff, growing herbs, growing marijuana. Your mileage may vary. So folks, we say it on the show every time. Every sticker has a story. Joshua, thank you for yours.
Yeah, that was a pleasure. I hope the audience enjoyed it and learned something about the cannabis industry. And
the cannabis industry, I've been studying it for about 10 years. And what's happened here in Colorado specifically has been interesting for Sticker Giant's business. We do a ton, obviously, of marijuana product labels and stickers, promotional items. And then there's, like you said, yourself, ancillary businesses. I mean, this, we're talking about billions of dollars in the United States a year, spent, so people are spending money. We're talking about quite a lot.
When I first got into the industry and I was, pitching businesses, I used to throw out a statistic: this is a $100 billion industry, and people would laugh at it. And it really is. If you look at the legal and the legal side of the market, people have no idea how much weed is smoked in this country.
People spend more on marijuana than they spend on McDonald's and Starbucks. Actually.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So it's, as of at the end of last year, it was $64 billion in the United States. So, the sky is the limit, truly. And
was
good
that
luck.
Legal or
pure legal, just purely legal.
Legal, yeah.
And so that means that it is $100 billion business when you add in the
I still think legal is accounting for more than 50%.
Exactly. So it is interesting to watch this industry grow, and good luck with your story as it grows. Everybody out there in podcast land, it's a potforplants.com or a potforpot.com. Either way, either one will work, and the internet will show you the way. But you have to type it in because of the way, search algorithms work. Joshua, thank you very much, and good luck as things keep going.
Sweet. Thanks.
All right, everybody in podcast land, take care of yourself, and we'll see you next time. That wraps up this episode of Stickers on the Mic, brought to you by StickerGiant.com. You can download us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, or your favorite podcatcher. Thanks again for listening to Stickers on the Mic. We'll see you next time.